Oof. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Thank you, Michael. You know, if one gain I have from this tonight, if I summarize the one thing, I get to know you, sir. I'm sad that I didn't get to know you before, but now I know you. Thank you. The second dimension is, if you put an Irish and a Kurd in the same place, you're asking for a trouble. And growing up, we always heard as Kurds, you know, the Irish struggle and the move, and we were the people of the mountains and the Kurds, you know. We never made our own fortunate, but we maintain our dignity, and we maintain our hope, and we always felt closer to the people of Ireland. But here we are. You know, Dr. Laurie, you put me on the last. If it was yogurt I will give, it will leave a really good taste on people's mouth before they leave. So I have to watch what I say. And I come after Julie Sweet, one of my heroes. And so I have to be very careful. Normally I'm not, but I'm going to be very, very careful. And I didn't even realize what this was all about. There are heroes of mine here. Mike Milken is here. I didn't realize. I didn't realize Raj is here. I didn't realize all these amazing, beautiful CEOs are here. So I'm extremely honored. Robert F. Smith is here. I mean, was here. Anyway. Can I tell a story? I will tell a little bit of story because that's all I can say, is to bring a spotlight this magical country that we live in. Yeah, I left Turkey at the age of 22 within 1 or 2 months because I got in trouble with the government because I wrote some political articles in a newspaper I was publishing when I was in university. They took me on the street, and I tell this about this, even the President Erdogan knows I talk about this. They took me on the streets of Ankara when I was in the university without anyone knowing that I was taken. And they took me to this very famous place in the center of Ankara where you go 7 stories below. And if you go there, we as university students knew if you go there, you're never going to come back as you went in there. You're just going to be, no one is going to hear from you, or you're going to come back really damaged. I was there for 18 hours, and they let me go, and I still don't understand until today why that person let me go without doing anything to me. Maybe it was a happy day for him. Maybe it was my mother's prayer. Maybe something. I don't know what it is. When I left, I went to my brother's store. I said, I have to get out of here. I have to leave the country. I have to go somewhere. And the only thing that came to my mind is Europe, because everybody was going there at the time, Germany, France, and all those places. So I was talking, I have to go to Germany, I have to go to France. There was this particular person who would come and shop in my brother's store every day. He would not say too much word. He was a very silent person. We didn't even like him too much. That day, he heard me saying to my friends that I was going to go to Europe. He said, don't be stupid. Go to America. So I look at the guy. I said, so you do speak. And the first thing you come from your mouth is to go to this capitalist, imperialist America. I said, that would be the last thing I would do, and you can go silence now. He said, you think Europe is all that good? They're all fascists. You know, this is street conversation in Ankara. Don't pay too much attention to this. It's just you know, I'm 19, 20 years old, young kid, and talking to a guy I don't like. And he said, why don't you go to America, see if you like it. And if you don't, you can always go to your beautiful friends. I dismissed him. I went to sleep. The next day, I waited for him to show up. He came in. I said, so how do you go to America? He said, why don't you go to this person, ask for a language school, and you go and see. That's exactly what I did. The only person I had to ask permission is to go back to my village and tell my mother that I was going to go. And my mother, some of us know that there's a tradition, there is an arranged marriage that happens. My mother already picked a girl for me to marry. He said, what about that? I picked your girl. I said, what if I go and I come back and, we figure shit out. We figure something out. I didn't say it that way. This is American way of saying things. With respect. I convinced her. It's one picture I will never forget. My mother is in the rear mirror, and I'm saying goodbye to her in a very rainy day. On October 15, 1994, I made it here. My brother gave me $3,000. I spoke no language. I knew nothing about America. It was just my safety. I had to leave. I had to leave, and I couldn't sleep for months until I get here. And the Penn Station to Adelphi University was one of the longest trips of my life. Finding that ticket counter and getting to that university and going into that empty dormitory bed. It was the first time I had a very long, comfortable sleep. And that was my journey started 30 years ago. Business was the longest distance things from me. I never knew I would be in the business. I didn't know what I would do. I'm a nomad son. I'm a Kurdish nomad. I grew up with shepherds. I don't even know what my birthday is. I grew up hating business, literally blaming business for everything was going wrong in our communities, in our towns, in our villages. I saw suffering factory workers, villagers. I saw the distance between the rich and poor. I grew hating and I grew with anger. My friends joined movements, like some of them were violence movements. I still believe that there was a peaceful way of going against this. But where I grew up, business was so distant from me, and I never wanted to touch it. Until I went to upstate New York, started working in a farm. And I worked in that farm for a year and a half. And then one day my father said, they don't know how to make good cheese here. Why don't you make some cheese? And that's my journey started. But what I saw in upstate New York was the small business owners, medium business owners, were community members. They were having schools, they were having hospitals, they were giving food. And I saw a different dimension of the business. Maybe I said, you know what, I could make some cheese, I can make a living. It wasn't until I saw this factory in the middle of farmland in South Edmondson, New York. I walk in there, and there's this factory being closed. And I worked this cheese plant for a few years, and now I saw this ad, and it said, fully equipped yogurt plant for sale, and I go. I'm curious, I want to see what this is all about. I go in there, and this is like a 70, 80 years old factory, and there's about 50 people, Michael. They're closing this place. It's silent. And I was talking about this the other day. It felt like somebody died on Euphrates River, where I grew up. It was something heavy clouds in the air. People were sad. People were sad. This was the last place in that town, and the steam was going to be cut off. The source of living was going to be shut down forever. And I was just there to witness it. And these 55 people were doing their best to close this place the best way they can. I left, and I'm not going to be too long. I left saying, I got to get this place. The person I called first, an attorney, he said in so many different ways, he said, this is the most stupid thing you can ever think of doing this. Like, this is the biggest company, food company in the world, closing this place. This is an old factory. They're getting out of yogurt business. You have no idea what you're doing, which is true. I never studied business. I never worked anywhere. I never read business book. I never knew anyone who had done business. All I did is making some cheese, and I'm looking at this place. I said, I want to have this. says, you have no effing idea. Like, you literally don't. And plus, he said, you have no money. You have not given me my invoice. It's been 6 months, $15,000. You haven't paid me yet. It's true. So, two bankers shows up. Pat Mucci, John Ryder. I will never forget these two names. They are two little town bankers. Julie, they are these most beautiful people. Pat Mucci, you just want to hug him. You know, he walks around as if he has cannolis in his pocket all the time. You know, he wants to give you some gifts. I said, Pat, I want to buy this factory. Can you help me? He says, if you write a business plan, and if we get an SBA loan guarantee, then we will give you a loan, which is like 80% loan guarantee or 50%. I said, how do you write a business plan? Just go search. So I did. He got the loan guarantee. 6 months later, I have the key. I hired 4 people from that 55 people. The first thing that we did was paint the walls. We have a board meeting in an old office. Maria Wilcox, Mike Allen, Frank, and Richard Lake, and myself. These are 4 factory workers and myself. We're sitting around the table. And they're looking at me because they're going to make life decisions where they're going to go next. And they're looking at me. I have a broken English. I'm driving a very broken car. I might be the first Turkish or Kurdish guy in that town they have ever seen. The next guy who had an accent was the guy from Sicily who's making pizza in that town. And the large company just closed this place, and they're looking at me, should we just trust this guy and make a life plan, or should we just move out of this place? And I said, we're going to go get some paint from the Ace hardware store, and we're going to paint the walls. So the Mike retired from that place, Mike Allen. He said, Hamdi, I retired from this place. We haven't painted these walls outside as long as I have been here. Tell me you have another idea. I said, yeah, I have ideas, which I had no idea, but let's paint the walls. We paint that walls in summer of 2005. In 2007, we launched the yogurt called Chobani. If I had told that guy, those 4 people, we're going to launch a yogurt here called Chobani, means shepherd in Turkish. And within 5 years, we're going to reach $1 billion in sales. These 4 people is going to be 1,000 people. We're going to invest $1.5 billion in a state in Idaho I had never been before. And we're going to be a number one yogurt brand in the country. I will not raise a penny from anybody. Right? We're not going to raise a penny anybody. We're going to get all this community lifted. Farmers are going to come back. People are going to start painting their homes. We're going to do all that kind of stuff. They probably would look at me and say, okay, this guy is smoking or drinking something really, really strange, because there's no way that possibly happens. So why I tell this story? A Kurdish guy from Turkey goes to a small town in upstate New York, makes Greek yogurt. Imagine. Right? Where is the chances of this is happening other than this magical country that we live in? Where? So I come down to this topic that Mike Milken is fighting for. How do we keep this promise alive in this country? That the more shepherds, more refugees, more people from all around the world can come, be the CEOs of those most amazing companies, create most amazing products, inspire humanity, fix problems, and reach to their dreams, yeah? How do we do that? How do we live that? What can I do? What can I do as a person that to this country, to land that my grandfather didn't fight the war, or my father, but was so generous to let me come in. And this shepherd's boy, or nomad's son, reach to his dreams and be here with these most amazing people. This is what we forget what this country is all about. I went to Idaho, and a governor, said hi to me when I went to Idaho. He had a big hat, like I saw on TVs, like Texas, the cowboy hat. He had a cowboy boots and a strange tie, and he told me in Turkish, welcome. I said, okay, this is a movie. He said, you're going to invest your business here. I said, well, that's confidence. And I spent 2 days in there. I probably love Idaho more than the town that I grew up. And in so many issues, we disagree, the people there. So many issues. But what is happening with politics in this country, for God's sake? Where are we going? And what if this breaks at some point? What if it breaks? What if it breaks? What happens to humanity? What happens to refugees all around the world? What happens to human violations all around the world? What happens to journalists that they stay in jails all around the world? It's because of this country, so many people survive, so many people say things, so many people can stand for something. So much at stake. And I have confidence in businesses and CEOs, especially the ones in here. It's the power of business. I go from hating the business to advocating and loving the business because of the impact it can do. A lot of companies, CEOs and representations are here, are the part of Tent Partnership for Refugees. My companies, amazing people in Chobani and Tents are here. They are witnessing every day what we do. The power of business, making a difference on people's life, and that's what the CED is all about. That's why she convinced me to come here, and that's why I'm taking this tool, and I apologize. It's so essential, so crucial as we are facing this election in this country. I will make yogurt, of course, but what I say is cup of yogurt won't change the world. But how you make it just might. And that's the dream. And that's the hope. On behalf of my wife, Louise, and everyone at Chobani and Tent, I am so honored, and I will never forget this tonight. I'm so sorry it took so long. Good night.